Hello, good afternoon, officially. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Friday with Liora and the team from the Think Room and myself, Sebastian Rodriguez. We have been delayed by just a little bit, but we know you are loyal followers and you are there waiting for the good stuff that we have to share with you. How are you feeling today, Liora? How are things on your end?
I am great. Thank you. If you're still with us, if you're watching, let us know in the comments so we can say hi to you. Today, we're going to be talking about networking in the EU bubble and beyond. What are some of our tricks? What are some of the things we don't want you to do? And we'll keep it a bit shorter because it is already noon in Brussels. So let's get started. So how would you like to kick this off, Sebastian?
Well, the topic today is very special for me. It's very close to my heart because I owe to a very special way of networking and pretty much my current career, which I am like really, I can say that I'm very happy about. I'm very satisfied. It's very meaningful and networking and a specific way to do networking, which I know you also share, Liora. Like, it's a networking that is it gives without expecting to receive. It's generous. It's more about listening and less about going over everyone else's and just telling your story, your perfectly trained pitch to every single person in the room, and more about trying to help, right? And trying to create like a network of people who remember you because you helped them, right? Wouldn't that be also the way that you also approach networking personally, Liora?
To me, every opportunity to meet someone is to meet people is just a chance to make friends. I think if you're in the room to get something out of it, that's the wrong mindset. I like helping people, so I cannot help myself when someone has a problem to try and help them solve it. So then I naturally show some of my skills. But the main purpose when you're in a room with someone is to get to know them, see what makes them tick. I do find a lot of people, when I ask them questions, that makes them go into monologue mode. And I do think that is something you should avoid. If I could share my 3 tips for networking, it's 1, listen, ask good questions, be really interested in the person in front of you. Secondly, do know how to pitch yourself in a sentence. So, not in a long story. This is what I do. This is where I used to work. No, just very briefly, who are you and what do you bring to the table? Something funny about yourself, something that doesn't sound like you're in a job interview. And thirdly, focus on building a real human relationship with the person in front of you. Maybe that has nothing to do with work and everything to do with tennis, if that's something that you're interested in.
And we have a lot of people joining us today. We are bringing a truly international and European audience. So hello, Alison from Frankfurt. We have also Doron from Amsterdam. We have who I think is going to be Aksha. I'm going to take a wild guess here from Berlin. And of course, our beloved Luis from all the way across the ocean. Hello, Luis, really. And also thank you for already sending a lot of questions in advance. And we are going to go through them now. And Akshay, with whom I shared the session last week. It was amazing. Great to have you with us. All right. Let's get this started. And also it would be very important for everyone to drop a comment in this chat saying not with a question, but also what is important for you when it comes to networking in the age of algorithms. Because let's not forget, we are here to beat the algorithm and connect the offline world to the online one, right? And the first thing that I wanted to share is that probably the easiest way to do networking, especially if you are new into a specific field or to a city, is by joining existing communities. And luckily in the EU bubble, we have so many of them. I want to take this post from a former colleague, Emme, who actually, we're talking about visibility on LinkedIn. She got famous on LinkedIn, or she got viral because she would put very simple visuals, very easy to understand, where she would map different things, media, communities, etc. So go and follow Eme, and she has great content. And what she realized, like, there are so many communities right now that are popping up, and each one has different audiences and different purposes. So just an overview, for example, you have communities of professionals, super important. It's not strictly within your area of expertise, but again, the EU bubble is a place where someone today is in aviation, but tomorrow is in fertilizers, right? So and people build this cross sector experience. So it's really good to always network with people outside of your current work or your current field. And these ones, they are really fun. Social Capital, they have a lot of events. They do really fun stuff, especially they prioritize in-person events where they really put you to network with others. And the same for the Comms Collective, which is more specifically to, they have interest in mentorship opportunities. There are also, I know, Liora, that you do your own versions of this. I'm very curious to also hear what you do, especially with female professionals who want to get their voice out there. But for example, if you're a creative, right, there are now specific communities about creatives. You have the Pop Collective, which is run by a very close friend of mine, Joxen. Uh, the Own Brussels, the administration, or the Brussels, say, region administration, have its own creativity lab, very interesting. And then you also have Contentors, that is run by the guy working in the European Commission with influencers, Jasser, and who I had the opportunity to interview in one of my weekly master classes with our community. Really interesting. And then these organizations try to focus on a new cohort, a new wave of professionals in the EU bubble who have different skills. They probably have studied design, communications, and probably the EU bubble is not the natural space for them. And then the last one, which she included, is the community that I'm also behind. And that to me was very important because I like the way that I build this community is for me to get, I was new in the EU bubble and I didn't know many people. And so I started to create this community to help me. But then at the end of the day, it has helped so many people along the way. And we focus on policy communications. And there are other groups that also live on LinkedIn natively. The European Campaign Playbook will live outside of LinkedIn too, although LinkedIn is definitely a place where we recruit people and we invite people to join. And those are like a few examples of organizations that you can today sign up. I'm pretty sure they will have events after the summer break, and you can start networking. But networking, how? And that's I hand over also to Liora to start thinking. Okay, now you're in this room with all these people. How do you go about it? Let's hear what you have to say, Liora.
Absolutely. So first of all, whenever you go anywhere, and especially when you go to events, make sure that you turn your lock screen wallpaper into your LinkedIn QR code. I do this, as you can see, because I live what I preach. And that means that it's just very easy for people to connect with you on LinkedIn, follow you straight from your phone. No more hassle with business cards, although I have very pretty business cards designed by Sean Hayes. They're very, very cute, but people end up losing your business cards. And this is just a foolproof way for people to, for you to build your LinkedIn presence. So I like that. How do you find this code? And that's why it's good to save it so you don't have to keep looking for it. But if you go to the search bar on your mobile LinkedIn app, then there's a tiny QR code on the right-hand side. When you click on it, that's where you find it. Then you just take a picture and you put it on your lock screen, or you save that picture somewhere else if you prefer to have a picture of your children on your lock screen, for example. And so you can always connect with people very easily. Now, I love that you build your own micro community. There are people who do that for a living like you do, but you can also do it very informally. When I just came to Brussels, I was a parent of young children, very, very young children. Knew I was 7 months pregnant with my second when I came to Brussels. And so I never had time to go to all these events that were being organized, but I was brand new to Brussels. I didn't know anybody. And so I thought, okay, how do I build my world, my own community when I never have time to go to these events when they take place often after work or, at times where I wanted to be with my children. So I decided to form my own community around topics that I found interesting, and I started inviting people to those. And what I love about Brussels, and I bet it's pretty much the same in other big cities in Europe and beyond, is that when you invite people to talk about something interesting, or even just for a coffee or a latcha or matcha, what are these things called? I don't drink them. Matcha drinks, they come and they're eager to talk to you. So I started with small groups and bigger groups, and just informally about the things, politics or communication, things that you feel passionate about. It doesn't even have to be in line with your actual day job, just things you really care about. And that community has grown into a group of people that comes to my house on a lot of Saturdays, for example, and they are across sectors. But then, once you have a strong group like that, you can, share insights with that circle first, but then you can bridge circles, and, you end up knowing a lot of people from a lot of different places. And I really encourage you to do that if you don't have time to go to regular events. Now, and of course, like I said before, 4 steps. Once you're at an event or anywhere, listen first, ask good questions. If you have a hard time knowing what good questions could look like, prepare a little bit, see who's going to be there, see what they do. But basically, it's just, who are you? What do you do? People are very eager to talk about themselves. It's not difficult to get them to talk, really connect on a human level, and then also be able to explain what you do yourself, but be brief. And I really think it is a crucial skill to learn how to pitch yourself. I have met so many really high level people who don't know how to do this. And I always say you have 20 seconds to make a first impression. Now, that first impression is you asking questions. But after that, if someone asks you, what is it that you do? And you go like, I have 50 years of experience in this, and then I want to do that. And you go into some very boring story. You have lost them. They started thinking about what they were going to eat tomorrow, all the tasks they still had to do, and you completely lost any opportunity. So there are 2 things, and I apologize for doing a monologue. The one thing I said you shouldn't do, but 2 things that you should, that will make an introduction work. Keeping it super short and focusing on the outcome you create, not what you've done, but what you do right now. So just as an example, this is mine. I help you stay visible, credible, and human in the age of algorithms. But that's still a little bit vague. And that's the exact purpose. You want people to say, huh, okay, that sounds interesting. Tell me more. You want to stop, and then for the other person to say, oh, wow, tell me more about that. And then, it turns into a conversation. But you can also always add one thing: how you do it, why it matters, or what makes your approach different. Something that explains why you're unique. That's why I always focus on the unique DNA, of course, what we do. So I help you stay visible, credible, and human in the age of algorithms. How do I do that? By finding your unique DNA, right? And then why does that matter? So you stand out in a tsunami of sameness. So you add a little bit more every single time to trigger that interest, to have a real conversation. And you can ask, so How are you doing on your LinkedIn? Do you find it hard to stand out? Who does your LinkedIn? Are you present on LinkedIn? That are some of the questions that I might ask, I might not ask, but you don't just monologue, you make it a conversation. So just maybe one example of what people would say, and usually in many more words than this. I'm a biotech researcher with experience in data visualization. Okay, I don't know what that means. That could turn into, I help biotech teams explain complex data with clear visual messages. And all of a sudden I'm like, huh. And then I would ask, do you only help biotech teams, or can you help me as well? And then you have a conversation, so it's much easier if you make it concrete. What do you think about this?
I think this is gold, and I truly do. I truly do. I would say that the opening line and the first impression, it's definitely it's definitely you can you can control. It's the part of the conversation that you can control, and there is no excuse for you not to know it. Now, also, sometimes I go to different events with different hats, right? And I think that happens so often, and so it can be also an idea to, for example, if you are a consultant and you are working for different clients, that you make sure that that also the organization that is behind you, you explain what they do, right? Because sometimes you are bigger, or you can be like more taken seriously because the place where you belong, or the organization you work for. And sometimes this has happened to me, especially for newly created think tanks, right? Or like there are so many in town, and to me they come and they say, or I've been working with them, they say, look, a few years ago, you could say we are a think and do tank, right? Remember, like they came up with all these fancy names to describe what you do and why you're different, but also having one line for your organization, like we are the think tank that is not going to allow Europe to miss the opportunity of AI. And then again, it's very related to the outcome. And I think if you are aligned to the outcome of your organization as an individual, then people will get it and will say, now I also remember what you do in a larger setting. But I think this is really, really important. It's a line that you need to rehearse. It's a line that you need to also share with your colleagues to see if they work, if say when you say it, if people react positively and get the word out there, especially if you know some organizations are so big, right? They just say, oh yeah, I work for the European Commission. Yeah, but what do you do in the European Commission, right? You could be a data visualization expert. You can be a policy expert. So it's very important you don't stop at. I so many times I get someone say, yeah, I work in the European Commission, and I'm like, okay, so where exactly? Yeah, in DG Connect. All right. What do you do? And sometimes it's very hard to get that information out. So get it ready for you, for your organization, and you'll see more interest around you and what you do. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about connecting on LinkedIn, how to build your network there. So Louis has a question about LinkedIn groups. Are you in LinkedIn groups, and what is your experience with them?
I have created LinkedIn groups on my own, and I've been part of some other LinkedIn groups. My recommendation is not worth it. I might have done things in the wrong way, but I moved from LinkedIn groups to placing people on WhatsApp groups, incredibly more useful.
Yeah, same. I have DM groups, so in the chat, with people. But the formal LinkedIn groups, I am part of a few groups, and sometimes someone puts one of my posts in them, and then of course that helps. But Yeah, I am not very active in groups, I have to admit. I do want to quickly talk about DMs. Now, that's very, so direct messages on LinkedIn. That's a hot debated, there's a debated topic, especially among people like us who have their own agencies. Do you use them? Do you not use them? I personally don't use DMs to get business. I don't actually do outreach. I just post on LinkedIn, and we make sure our content is optimized for AI visibility, but we don't reach out in the chat and say, look, we saw you did this. You might find our services useful, because I personally get very nauseous when I get all those DMs, and I never like them. I don't like it when they first pretend to chat with you and then it turns into a sales pitch because you kind of feel cheated. But I don't like it when they go in with the hard sell either. And there are very few occasions where I've liked a DM and it turned, and even fewer. I have bought one thing via DM. So what do you think about DMs? Let's talk about this.
Yeah. Now, I also find them very spammy and definitely different levels. No, the third connection saying that they want to buy your company because they're interested in your vertical. That's already bad enough. Then sometimes people who are in my first or second degree, they reach out to me, never to help me, but just to get something for themselves. So I was like, okay, drop me an email. I always say the same: drop me an email if you want a meeting, if you want to demo. That happens to me a lot. People reach out to me to do demos of products, especially the AI ones, and I say, look, I'll do the demo. Like, you just, I'm happy for me to see, but I need also to be able to choose the time, etc. Just send me an email and then I'll deal with it. I am more an email person. And the last thing that I had is one person DM me to do a hard sell. It was a very like sales pitch, and I had worse opinion of that personal organization than before, because I thought it was desperate. That the product still, it would still be, for some people might be using this function, and maybe it's working, but it's not my philosophy. My philosophy is, like you say, you share, you are funny, like in the example that you are showing there. You are funny, you're trying to come across in a very unexpected way, and then that triggers a conversation, and fewer but more high quality conversations.
Yeah, maybe just to talk about comments. So first of all, the way I see LinkedIn is that you are incredibly valuable. You make it super clear what you bring to the table, what you bring to LinkedIn, what you do. You make that super clear all across your LinkedIn profile. And then in your comments, you talk about things that you know, but you also have fun. You build relationships with other people, not because you want out of it, just because you enjoy, getting information, giving information, being funny, having fun. And so Gary Vee, one of the marketing gurus, had a post in which he said, and I will swear, I'm sorry, you are the effing algorithm. And I posted, yes, train your feed. I am training my feed not to see any cursing. It is still a work in progress, which was obviously a joke. But I woke up the next morning after posting this, and I had 170 more new followers based on that one comment. And a lot of people arguing with me, like, why do you follow his comments? You know that he always swears. Like, people don't understand my humor at all occasions, which I think is one of the reasons it works, because, debates around comments get you more visibility. So that comment had 15,000 and still growing, 15,000 impressions and over 50 reactions. So that is the kind of thing that I think works extremely well on LinkedIn to get your name out there, to get people to go to your profile, check out who you are, what you do, what you offer. And that works really well. Another thing is create, and I keep saying this, savable content, save-worthy content. My content has been saved over 6,000 times in the last 365 days, as you see in that screenshot. That is very, very important. You want to create conversations around your content, and you make sure that it's very useful. So again, it's not about you. It's about helping people. And how do you create safe-worthy content? Just think about the kind of questions that people ask you day to day, and then turn that into content. Everything is content. Be valuable. And then, people will come to you when they have a question around your niche. And if you have a business or if you are a freelancer, they will think of you when your topic, in my case, LinkedIn, AI visibility, DNA focused communication, will come up, because they've seen my content so often, they've saved it, they found it useful. So when something related comes up, they come to me proactively, and they come to me knowing what I can do and what my company can do. So it's much better than to have to go out and pitch yourself and network just for the sake of networking, only because you want something from the person. Very often people come to me in the DMs trying to sell me the exact service that I offer. That means they haven't even spent 1 second on my profile. It's just all automated with AI. They say, I saw the glowing recommendation from Anna saying that you do XYZ, because that's the first recommendation that appears on my profile. I get per week at least 10 of the exact same messages. I saw the glowing recommendation of Anna saying that you are great at X. And, it's just... I don't think that type of AI is very useful or helpful and will in any way help you. But they keep doing it, so I guess they get some business out of it, but not this girl. and it won't help you build your reputation in the long run.
No.
We have a question from a LinkedIn user. Do you think building a community or a network gives you an advantage when trying to find opportunities in the bubble, especially those who aren't from the EU? Of course.
Yeah. Especially if you are not from the EU, exactly. If you don't have the existing network, you need to. I think it's a must.
Just to give you an example. So you asked me about the people that I coach. So I help a lot of people when after they've been made redundant, with outplacement type of packages. So I help them with everything from confidence, how to pitch yourself, to LinkedIn, and all the writing application letters. But very often what actually helps them find a job is my own network, not their network, but mine. Because if the person is good and I believe in them, I can call up one of my many friends in the bubble and say, look, I have this person and I think they would be amazing for the opening that you have. And they hadn't been invited, but because of my context, they can then get an interview. They still have to go through the entire interview, all the different interviews. It's not a direct ticket to the job, but the first interview, you need to be invited. And for that, it really helps to have a network. I have a network, but you can build your own network, or you can come and be coached by me, of course.
Yeah. All right, we have a few more. Also, I've recovered some of the questions from before we started the streaming. Some of them we already answered, but this one I want to jump in for Luis. Can you automate networking? No.
There's certain things you can do, and we are working on this, you can map out and Sales Navigator, which I despise, but it does have a function to see, what are your targets saying, when have they posted, so you can be notified about those types of things. But the response, and I think everybody knows this, you don't want to write an AI generated response to a post. You don't want to write an AI sounding post. So, they're the mechanics that you can automate, but definitely not the outreach itself.
That gave me an answer, which is I do automate whenever because one of the key things probably that happens to you go to an event and you have a lot of new connections, right? And then how do you keep track of those? So because I receive an email I have the activation, the notification in my email that I added a new connection. I have a overnight an overnight
Agent.
agent that goes and puts it in my Notion. To be honest, that's there, and I know like maybe every month or 2 months I go and make sure that I grow to everyone. But to be honest, if I have had a very meaningful conversation, and I will, it will be in my head all the
Yeah.
time. Right? Um, yeah, on terms of networking with first to third degree, all of them, why not? If they are third degrees, because they, you are one relationship away, so that shouldn't limit, I would say, the.
In terms of your post, if more second and third degree connections comment on it or like it, that will help the number of impressions that it gets. So it is important to somehow get out of your own bubble, because it will limit if your post only gets traction within your own bubble. And you can now see this, I think it's now being rolled out to everyone in Europe. It certainly has been on my account. You can now see how much are in your own network, per post. How much for each post has it been shown to your own network, and how much of the engagements were beyond, so second and third degree. Now, how can you get more second and third degree responses to your post? It's by writing something that encourage people, is very shareable, of course. Now my posts don't get reposted very often. I do also have to warn people that repost it looks like it harm. If you repost something, it harms the impressions of your own post. That's also why people are reposting less. But of course, if your post has been forwarded a lot to others, so behind the scenes, DM'd, or if they have been saved a lot, that usually also inspires LinkedIn to show it to more people. And of course, you can also tag people that are not, or send it yourself to people outside of their networks, outside of your networks.
Yeah. I have an idea. I mean, not because anything specific, but I was thinking, okay, how else I can top up, like this top advice from you. Let me put it again here, especially in person. I think I want to go back to this one. It's something I was thinking, okay, what have been like the pleasant and unpleasant experiences that I've had doing networking. One of them I shared already, which is the person who goes and gives you the business card, even before you have exchanged a word. Like the first thing that he does or she does is probably a he, but
Yeah.
hands over the business card. You're okay, like, fine, and then the second one is, please, like, don't drink alcohol, at least definitely not heavily, even if or at least if there are two types of alcohol. I don't know, go for a lighter one at the beginning, because there is nothing worse than talking to someone and just getting the smell of a beer or like wine. Right? I would say that is also something that to me has affected me a lot. And I never drink in networking events alcohol, because I have, this. Does the same happen to you? And what other things have you found which are funny to share when networking?
Yeah, I think you need to find a balance between sharing and oversharing.
Yeah.
So I think this is my own mistake, because I ask a lot of questions and I enjoy hearing what people have to say, but I do appreciate the occasional question back.
Yeah.
So if you find a person, and I think, there are many people like me, that if you find a person that's eager to hear your story, make sure that you also show some interest in the other person. I think that's important. I see also another interesting question from Louis, and maybe we can end with that. What is your reaction, and how do you manage a comment from a member who is annoying, sharing his products, services, or even asking for a job. Now, when people ask for a job, I don't find that super annoying. I have that a lot. I think this is a tough job market at the moment. And so if someone comes to me respectfully and says, look, I find it interesting, your team seems fun, can I be a part of it? I think that's normal, and I appreciate that. Often I don't have a job to share, but maybe there's a small thing that we can do together. So that I don't mind if it's done in the right way, which is, basically asking politely and not spamming me, of course. What I don't like is when people are very aggressive or yeah. What I find very funny, and I think this is also because not everyone approaches these things the same way that I do. But I had a person recently in my DMs, and they were on the one hand trying to sell, but on the other hand trying to get information from me. And whenever anyone wants information from me, I said, why don't you book a free meeting with me? And in that meeting, I give I offer as much help as I can. And if they want to, and if they can afford it, they will then enter into a kind of working relationship with me. But in that half an hour, they often have already a lot of very useful things, just like in this meeting, but more personalized. So I said, why don't you book a meeting with me? And he said, I'm not convinced yet that you're worth my time booking a meeting with you. And I was like, okay. That's like, you contacted me. He's like, yeah, but you haven't shared what you do. I'm like, my whole profile is what I do. And he was really aggressive, and it started being super unfriendly to me. And then I thought, okay, but I didn't ask for any of this conversation. So then at some point I just archived him. Whenever I don't like somebody, I put them in my archive so I don't see their messages anymore. So I think you need to be careful because you cannot hear someone's tone of voice. So maybe he thought I was trying to push my services with that half an hour, but I cannot, I get a lot of direct messages, and I cannot help everyone in the DM. I don't have that. That's too time consuming. But if I have half an hour with you, dedicated time, I can spend that time focusing on you, and we can see what it is that you need. I prefer it that way. So I was really trying to help him, and then for him to be so aggressive and negative, it was so don't do that. And when that happens, just archive the person, and or when they're really bad, block them, because you don't need that kind of negativity in your life.
Yeah, I would say the same. I always try to move away from conversation on LinkedIn to at least email. I don't mind an email. I don't mind. I sometimes I say, hey, are you interested in that job? I always put it back to the person if you are really interested. And this is a rule that I always follow. Like I say, okay, this is my email. Like, send me your CV, and I'll take a look. Only a minority does that. And then that's how you also qualify people. Say, okay, this person is following up, or this person is sending the same email to me than to everyone else. So I always try to put it back on the person. Of course, I'm ready to share like you. Like 30 minutes is a lot of time.
Yeah.
I mean, we've already been here for 37. But, you start adding 30 minutes, and it's a whole day. And the fact that you put yourself available for that time says a lot about you and about your philosophy, but it cannot be taken advantage of, and it needs to demonstrate work. I would put homework on them. Say, okay, if you're gonna continue this conversation, tell me, send me this information, and then we have a meeting about. Sometimes I get a lot of DMs with products, AI products. I must show up in different places, and to be honest, some of the products that I've been sent, they are pretty good, and then they always want, hi, I want you to promote it, which is something that I don't do. I say, hey, I don't do this type of thing. Like, if you want to show me your product, I will take a look, but I am not not taking commissions for people buy licenses, and but if you want to show me if you want to put a demo of 15 minutes, I will show up and I will ask questions, and I will ask you, why are you different from this other competitor, which is more established, which is more robust, etc. And if you answer those, then look, next time that I'm with a client, I will drop your product. And this has happened with a couple of examples in the EU bubble. I'm very reticent at sending people to buy new AI products, because I think most of the work can be done in house, but there are some that I was wrong. I said, okay, this is really worth the investment, and so yeah. But always put the proof of evidence, and the homework. I put it back to those people to qualify those who are really serious about talking to me, or those who are simply spamming lots of people.
Yeah, it's quite funny how when you give things for free, people appreciate it less. So I've even had usually after that half an hour, people are very appreciative and they they follow the advice and they are happy with that session, and regardless if something else happens or not. But there are people who say, "Oh yeah, well." I think I got something out of this, and they don't even say thank you, And I'm like, okay, I just gave you a lot of really good insights that you should have actually paid for, but okay. So for me, appreciation is important. So I think it's important that when you, um, that you understand that when people are trying to help you, that you also show some.
Mm.
Yeah, I think just in general, be a good person. Be a good person online. Be a good person when you meet someone. Be a nice person when you network, and then. I do think there's a karma thing that will then help you get further along, and you'll get clients, you'll get a next job, because at the end
Yeah.
of your reputation is everything.
Yeah. On that note, positive, uplifting, very humane as you do. By the way, beautiful background that you have. It's very fitting, very fitting. And so on that note, I think we can end this July chat about visibility, LinkedIn, networking, and all things. All of the things above and combined. Going forward, we're going to continue. So next week we're going to show up again around here, and we will try to do more targeted, more niche type of sessions that answer one specific key question, but of course always open to everyone's comments and contributions. Is that right?
Absolutely. If you have something specific you'd like us to discuss, we want to try and keep it a bit shorter. We know you're all very busy. You probably don't have an hour per week to spare for us. So we're going to answer very specific questions, go quite deep on them, try to do it within 20, 25 minutes every week. But so every week, you know something else that you didn't know before, or you went much deeper on it. So if you have any things that you'd really like us to answer next week and the following weeks, let us know in the comments. And if not, we will decide on our own and see you next week. Thank you very much, everyone.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, and have a nice weekend.
Have a good
Ciao.
weekend. Ciao, guys.